viewers, welcome to another video in the German grammar series of my channel Indo-German Vibes. And today we are going to talk about the most dreaded topic in the German grammar, and that is the vier Fällen in der deutschen Sprache, the 4 cases in the German language. I'm quite sure all of you must have seen such boring tables in your German textbooks which you don't understand at all, and you just don't understand what do these nominativ, akkusativ, dativ mean at all. And today I'm going to clear all your doubts about the cases in the German language. So watch the video till the end. Los geht's! So we start with the topic, die vier Fälle in der deutschen Sprache. At first we need to know how do you say case in German language. The case of a noun is called der Fall oder der Kasus. Und im Plural die Fälle und die Kasus. But what does a case mean? The case of a noun tells us about the role of the noun in a sentence. Very, very important. It tells us about the role of the noun in a sentence and its relationship to the other nouns in the sentence. What are the various roles a noun can play in a sentence? At first, let's learn about that. The role a noun can play in a sentence can be mainly divided into 2 categories which have further subcategories. So firstly, we'll concentrate on the 2 main categories, that is the subject, which is also called das Subjekt in German, and the object oder das Objekt in German, right? So now we are dealing with 2 new terms. Let me clarify it. Subjekt in a sentence is a person who is doing an action. For example, Marie schreibt, Mary writes. So who is writing? That is the person who is doing the act of writing, that is Marie. So Marie is the subject of the sentence. Another thing, subject can also be a thing or a place in a sentence which is being described or talked about. For example, we can say, der Tisch ist groß. Der Tisch ist groß. So, what is the thing which is being talked about? That is der Tisch, the table. So, der Tisch is the subject of the sentence, right? Another example for a place acting as a subject, Hamburg ist eine schöne Stadt. Hamburg ist eine schöne Stadt. So here in the sentence, the city Hamburg, it's being described or being talked about that it's a beautiful city. So what is the subject of the sentence? Hamburg, the city. After having discussed what is a subject in a sentence, now we come to the most important information, that is, das Subjekt steht immer im Nominativ. Now what does this mean? This means when a noun functions as a subject of the sentence, it is said to be in nominative case. So nominative case is nothing but the noun functioning as the subject of the sentence. Zweitens, der Nominativ ist die Grundform eines Nomens. Now, what does this mean? This means that the nominative case is the basic form of the noun, the form which you will find when you look for it in the dictionary. So, it's just like verbs which have their basic form, which is called Grundform or infinitive. That is the form of the verb which you see in the dictionary. For example, sehen, schreiben, fahren, which is ending with en. Similarly, the Grundform of the noun, that is the nominative case. That is the basic form which you will find in the dictionary.
And when the noun is in its basic form or nominative case, then all the masculine nouns have the article their, all the feminine noun have the article the, and all the neutral nouns have the article thus.
Now, coming on to thus object or the object. So, what is an object in a sentence? Now, we have already understood the subject is the person or the thing which is doing the activity. So, whenever someone is carrying out an action, there's always someone who is receiving that action, right? Either it can be a person or it can be a thing. So, the activity of the subject is always received by thus object, right? Now, the recipient, that is this object, can be subdivided into two categories: direktes Objekt oder ein indirektes Objekt. Now, what is the difference? Now, whenever the subject or the person is doing an activity, there's a noun or another person or a thing which is being directly affected by that activity. For example,
Der Hausmeister gibt dem Mann den Schlüssel. In this sentence, we can see we have three nouns: der Hausmeister, der Mann, and der Schlüssel. In order to demonstrate how the nouns change their articles depending upon the case in which they come in a sentence, I have written all the three nouns in their basic form, that is, when they are in their nominative form. So, all of these three nouns have the article their in their basic form, in their nominative form. And now we are going to see how they change their article depending upon the case or their fall in which they are coming in the sentence. As mentioned previously, the person who is doing the activity is the subject of the sentence and is always in its nominative form. So, here in this sentence, who is doing the activity? The caretaker, their Hausmeister. So, their Hausmeister is the subject of the sentence and therefore it is coming in its nominative case. And because it's coming in its nominative case in the sentence, it's not going to change its article from its basic form. So its basic form is their Hausmeister. So it's going to remain like that, their Hausmeister, right? Now, coming to the objects of the sentence, we have two objects here. Objects, as I have already mentioned, are the nouns which are recipient of the action of the subject of the sentence, right? So we have two objects here, the man and the key. Now, what is being directly affected by the activity of the Hausmeister? That is the key, their Schlüssel. So the Hausmeister takes the key. So the key is being directly affected by the action of Hausmeister. So it is the direct object. But the Hausmeister is giving this key to someone. And that someone is here, their Mann. So the Mann is the indirect object of this sentence. Now, coming on to the most important information, that is, when a noun is acting as a direct object in a sentence, most of the times it is said to be in accusative case. Der Akkusativ. Also, ein direktes Objekt steht meistens im Akkusativ. So, in this sentence, the noun der Schlüssel is acting as the direct object and therefore it is in accusative case. And hence, its article has been changed from der to den. Now, another important information: when a noun acts as an indirect object in a sentence, it is said to be in its dative case. So, Ein indirektes Objekt steht meistens im Dativ. Im Dativ. So in this sentence, der Mann is the indirect object and therefore it is in its dative case and hence its article has been declinated or changed from der to dem Mann to signify that it is the indirect object or in its dative case. Let's take another example to understand the cases better.
We have a very simple sentence here. Marie schreibt. Marie schreibt. Mary writes. And who is writing? That is Marie. Marie is writing. Marie ist das Subjekt. So a tip how you can recognize the subject in a sentence, you can ask a question like in this case, Marie schreibt, Mary writes, who is writing? So whenever you question who is doing a particular activity, the answer to this who is always das Subjekt, right? So wer schreibt? Marie schreibt. So if you are getting confused, who is the subject of the sentence? Simply ask the question, who is doing the activity, right? Then you will get the answer and that answer is the subject. After reading the sentence, Marie schreibt, a question naturally comes into our mind. What is she writing? Was schreibt Marie? Marie schreibt einen Brief. So Mary writes a letter. So here the noun letter is a direct object as it is being directly affected by the action of Mary. And we know the direct object is an accusative object. So here in this sentence, the noun einen Brief, that is in accusative case. So einen Brief ist im Akkusativ, right? Another tip, if you are confused, what is the direct object in a sentence? You can ask a question. For example, Mary writes a letter. What is Mary writing? And the answer to this what is the accusative object, right? Man kann fragen, was schreibt Marie? Und die Antwort ist, sie schreibt einen Brief. Und diese Antwort zu der Frage was steht im Akkusativ. Im Akkusativ, right? So after reading the sentence, Marie schreibt einen Brief, another question strikes her mind, that is, for whom is she writing the letter? Or to whom is she writing the letter? So here, the person for whom she is writing the letter is an indirect object, and indirect object is most of the times the dative object, der Dativ. So here, ihrem Opa, das ist im Dativ, right? Again, in case of any confusion, you can ask a question. For whom is Mary writing a letter? For whom is the action being done? And the answer to for whom the action being done is most of the times the dative case, right? Or you ask, wem schreibt Marie einen Brief? Ihrem Opa, right? So to summarize, we have basically three questions which we can ask to identify the case of a noun. When I ask who is doing the action, the answer to that who is the subject or their nominative. The second question can be what is being done by the activity of the subject, that is the direct object, and most of the cases they are accusative. Another question which we can ask is for whom is the activity being done by the subject, and the answer to this for whom is the dative case. der Dativ, right? Another role or function a noun can have in a sentence is denoting possession. Denoting possession. What is possession? Possession means whom does a particular thing belong to. So it tells you who is the owner of a particular thing. Also, der Genitiv zeigt uns, wer ist der Besitzer von einer bestimmten Sache, right? So who is the owner of a particular thing? That is shown with the help of the case genitive oder der Genitiv.
Das ist das Haus meines Freunds. So in this sentence, the noun Freund is in genitive case as it is telling us about the possession of the house. So whom does the house belong to? Whose house is it? Meines Freunds, my friend's house. Another example, die Tür des Hauses ist braun. Die Tür des Hauses ist braun. So whose door is brown? The door of the house is brown. So here too, the noun this house has been declinated and changed to this houses to signify that the door belongs to the house.
Till now, we have learned the four cases in the German language: their Nominativ, their Akkusativ, their Dativ, and their Genitiv. But how do these cases express themselves in a sentence? How do the nouns change so that we can recognize in which case these nouns are in a sentence? Let's learn this. So, the cases of the nouns in a sentence are expressed through the articles of the nouns. These articles change when the noun changes its case, right? So, let's see with the help of few examples. Every noun has its basic form, just like infinitive of the verb. For example, er steht, infinitive stehen with the ending en. Just like that, every noun has its Grundform or the basic form, and that is its nominative form, right? So here, all the masculine nouns have the article der, all the feminine nouns have the article die, and all the neutral nouns have the article thus. And the nouns which are coming in their plural forms, they are having the article the. But now, what happens when we form a sentence? The noun changes its cases, right? Sometimes it's coming in its accusative case, sometimes it's coming in dative or in genitive case, right? So, but what happens then actually? Then the article of the noun changes its form, right? For example, the noun with the article there in its basic form or the nominative form changes to den in Akkusativ. Den in Akkusativ, dem in Dativ, and it becomes des in Genitiv, right? So this change of the article of the noun, depending upon its case in which it's coming in the sentence, it's called the declination. The declination. The nouns with feminine article the article remains the same when it's changed to accusative, but it changes to their in its dative case and to their in genitive case too. Similarly, the nouns with the article thus remain the same in accusative but change in dative, thus changes to them and thus changes to des in genitive. So I'm sorry to say that you have to learn these tables by heart. Only then you'll be able to make sentences correctly in German language. Das war alles für heute über die vier Fälle in der deutschen Sprache. So that was everything about the cases in the German language. In the future, I'll be making more videos on this topic, and I'll be taking each of these cases individually, and I'll be making more detailed videos on each of them. So, till then, take care. Bye bye. Tschüss. Bis zum nächsten Mal.